Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
I hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Welcome back, everybody. I hope for all the American viewers, hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. How was your weekend, Coach?
The weekend was good, man. The weekend was good. I was outside a lot, different events, hanging out with friends. One of my closest friends just moved back to New York, so he's just like,
Oh,
"Hey, we gotta. It's the summer. Let's go out." So, bouncing around New York, upstate New York, in the city. It was a good weekend. It was a good weekend. Had to
sounds
catch up on
great.
some sleep. Almost slept in this morning for the opening call, but we made it. We're back for work. How was your weekend, Coach?
Had a great weekend. Great weather.
Yeah.
Got in some golfing. Spent some time with my son and my grandson. So very relaxing. It's summertime.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Let us know in the chat how your weekend was. Long 3-day weekend. Did anyone trade on Friday? I did play some trades on Friday. I posted those on X. The markets were open. It was before before all the cookouts and fireworks started. Markets were open, so I took a little trade. Nothing too major, but then locked it up and just spent some time with friends and family. Let us know how you did today to start the week. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we can take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. This is our first time meeting. I'm Coach Jay. I've been a top step performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. I have 40 years of trading experience. I'm here to share some of those experiences, some knowledge, and hopefully help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. You are all our chat, our audience. We want to thank you every day for joining us. If you haven't done so already, hit that thumbs up button. We got a disciplined trader asking a question in the chat. How do you attach anchored VWAP to a certain candle on Top Step X? We'll get this one out of the way early. On the drawing tools on the left side of your chart, 5 icons down, about halfway through that menu, you have anchored VWAP. Put a star next to it because you're going to use it all the time. You're going to click on the icon with the 2 candles with a line going through it, and then click on a candle, and that anchors your VWAP from there. Uh,
It's of all the platforms I've used, this is the easiest by far version.
Easiest way to do it.
Um, yeah, so hope that helps out. And once you see it, keep it in that toolbar, like Coach Jay said, you'll be using it often.
Using it all the time. Pistol Pete says 108 degrees in Arizona. Sounds like great weather to stay in the house.
Oh
'Cause that is
man,
pretty damn hot. How do we
what is
combat
it?
spoofing other than regulators dropping the hammer years later? It seemed like that happened today. That is a hero's journey, Kiran. Combating spoofing. I'll ask the question: how can you confirm spoofing? Uh, Kind of hard to tell. I would not focus so much on it in your trading, especially if you're a volume trader. Don't get caught up in oh, they're spoofing the order book, so the odds are stacked against me. This is a tough enough thing to do without having to worry about that. Pay more attention to the orders that do get filled, uh, and you know, how can you prove intent with spoofing? Right? It could be just hey, I put this order out there and then I didn't want it anymore, so I removed it. Uh,
Well, one thing I will comment on that is you can't. First of all, you have to identify it, but the spoofing comes when if you're a market maker or if you're trading too much, it's going to affect you. Um, it comes. I mean, it's just part of the game. But focus on your trading plan. If it's being affected by spoofing, you might want to rethink what you're doing. I understand. I know what spoofing is. It doesn't affect me because I enter on my terms, not on their terms. Well, if you're trading really short term, it's going to be a problem. like I'm saying, if you're trading like the 1 minute chart. Um, but sometimes it's not spoofing. It's black liquidity, or a number or some news came out. But there's really not much you can combat on it. But I will. What can you control? Y- Your risk. So focus on that. Interesting. There was news out of India. Jane Street has been suspended from trading for pump and dump type of trading, where they buy in the morning and they put an option thing and then they dump the stock in the afternoon. It was pretty big news. They froze a $500 million of Jane Street capital. So
Not a small
look
amount
it
of
up.
money.
It's not a small amount of money. And by the way, I didn't know this. It's the largest derivatives market in the world now by volume.
Your market?
Yeah.
Oh wow,
So check.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Speaking of news, we didn't have much as far as planned numbers goes today, but we do know that Wednesday was the tariff deadline, July 9th. There's a new date out there now, August 1st, where it seems like that's, I think Basent said yesterday, that is not a new deadline. That's just when the tariffs will go into effect. I thought that date was July 9th. I thought that's how deadlines worked. But then you put out another date, and then that's the day. We did have a ton of updates on tariffs. Let me try to read through some of these. Uh, Trump sends additional letters announcing tariffs on Malaysia, Kazakhstan, South Africa, Laos, and Myanmar. The EU won't be receiving a letter setting out higher tariffs from the US. The US to set a 25% tariff rate on South Korea goods effective August 1st. And Trump also did say, I will impose a 25% tariff on Japan starting August 1st. There was the comment from the White House official that tariffs won't stack. We were trying to figure out exactly what that means, but I'm assuming it's if there's 10%, add another 10%, it doesn't go to 20%. I'm not even gonna act like I know, chat. What does that mean? Somebody tell
Uh,
me.
I
Uh,
think of stacking chips, but yeah, I don't know what it means.
right.
But we do know this. This comes out randomly, and it's going to continue. I guess the focus is back on tariffs now. Beware. And sometimes, that headline comes out and it appears to be spoofing. I saw that this morning. Um, we're back to the big T word. It's going to continue through the rest of the summer. So, once again, we can't control that.
Thank you for Let Love Win and Courtney in the chat saying that it doesn't include what's already uh what they're already paying doesn't go on top of the current tariffs. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. All right, let's get into the markets. We have 35 different markets we can trade with Top Step accounts. Today, to the downside, we had copper down 2.55%, soybeans down 2.72%, and corn, our biggest percentage mover, to the downside at 3.66%. To the upside, we had crude oil up 1.61%, RBOB gasoline futures up 1.8%, and heating oil, our biggest percentage mover, to the upside at 2%. Today was a day for the oils and the ags, it looks like. We already talked about crude oil and our big four up 1.61%. The S&P down 0.87%. Gold had a really nice day. Didn't really look like it, only up 0.1%, but a very nice two-sided trade in gold today. And the NASDAQ down 0.87% to round out our big four. Let's take a look at the S&P, Coach Paul. I'm on a daily here. We're starting the week. What are we looking at on this daily chart?
It's a little more correction on that news of tariffs. You tell me, are we working on a 3-bar reversal?
We are. So this is the first day, and Hogan and I talked about this during the opening call, but this is the first day in 10 days that we've taken out a daily low. How much weight do you give to Friday's price action? Because this is Friday here, Coach Paul. It was a pretty decent range on no volume.
Yeah, it was an inside day.
Yeah.
and no volume you hit. So I look at combining both of those myself. I don't give that much credence to that. My thought is they're both basically one day. If
Yep.
so is it a 3 bar? I mean, inside day with low volume, it really doesn't count. If a market opened and no one traded, uh, but even with that, it did break a low, and we're settled below that low. My personal feeling is it's a little heavy.
Little bit. Little bit. Maybe a little extended. We did have almost 10 days in a row to the upside. We got pretty extended from this 20 moving average, which is down at 61.45. Uh, so maybe a little healthy correction is in order. We kind of come back and test the previous all-time high and see if that's supportive or not. And we know the last time we were up here and the market started to sell off really heavy, tariffs were our main headline. We're coming back to a time where they should be coming into effect. Do we get the same type of sell off? I saw someone in the chat earlier today said they were looking for, the mother of all sell offs. I think we kind of got that. When's the last time we had two of these in the same year? Of course, anything can happen, but I think a necessary pullback. Let's just start there.
Yeah, it's a health. Another term for it is a healthy pullback.
Yep.
But that tariff, we're back into it. That is never friendly. I don't. But once again, it's is it taco time? We're pushing back dates. Um, it, the bottom line is we don't know, but we can. There's plenty of trading opportunities. Let's go into today's action.
Taco. Today's not Tuesday. Tomorrow's Taco Tuesday. I think I'm gonna get some tacos tomorrow. Here is today's price action. 30-minute opening range overnight. Didn't really do too much. Kind of could see VWAP in the range. Price did try to leave, and not a whole lot going on in the overnight. We came back and
Big gap up.
we did gap up. That is true. We did gap up. Let's mark out that gap. Open, close there. You want to just do a price gap or
Price gap.
price gap? Let's do that. There we go. All right. That red area is our price gap.
Look at that. Boy, look what it did when it. Now I'm from the old school. It should go to the settlement, but that's old school.
Yeah.
When I was young, it's a long time ago. It was before.
Age is only in your mind, Coach Paul.
Yes, but the reason I say that is there was only trading during the day, so gaps were much different. With trading 24/6, basically 24/6 and a quarter. Um, it that it's a little different now. So when I was saying before, you had to go to the settlement to fill the gap. I don't think that is as big of a deal now, because of overnight trading and different sessions. So it did fill the gap on the price and bounced twice.
Yeah, it did.
So the high was made on the first half an hour, didn't follow through. VWAP didn't follow through. And there's a large percentage of times where the gap gets filled. Well, I don't know what the exact. It's upwards of 75%.
Or there's a stat out there. We had Baron on. He would tell us the edge full stat, but I'm sure it is out there. So overnight, maybe there was a trade here, maybe a quick scalp. We were kind of trading around this major 6,300 level in the S&P. We go down to just the regular trading hours. Kind of a one directional day from the New York session open. Let's go down to a shorter time frame. Let's take a look at a 3-minute chart. And the S&P, Dow, and maybe the Russell looked a little bit different than the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was kind of stubborn today. And it took a little while to get going while everything else was selling off. We can take a look at that. But here's the first 3-minute opening range. We chopped around for a little while, kind of slow price action. You heard everybody on Fast Market saying, maybe the bigger traders are still on their way back from the Hamptons or wherever they were for the long weekend. Not a lot of direction until we got direction. I think tariff headlines started to come out, and fill in that gap first, and then that move gets expedited by that tariff headline, which is clearly this candle on our chart right here.
Yeah.
Buyers really never had control all day. We can see we stayed under VWAP. Not a lot of great opportunities to buy this market. Maybe down near the lows here, 62 half. We did
Yeah.
have. Go ahead, coach.
I was looking for a J trade, and I don't
Didn't really
consider
have
that a
one.
very good. Didn't Yeah, it wasn't like twice the average. It wasn't big volume. It was decent.
Because VWAP did kind of slope lower all day. We checked it a couple of times, rejected off of it. Uh, could you have found a buy somewhere? I don't see a great one, but maybe it was there, right? If you look price wise, just off of 6250s, maybe you had an opportunity there. I'm going to go back out to a 30-minute chart really quick and extended trading hours because I'm going to ask you a question, coach. What is that white line?
Um, it's the line of demarcation
Yep.
in 200 bar moving average.
200 moving
Um,
average on the 30-minute. We've been above it for a couple days, closing below it now.
yeah, and we'll see if the moving averages close below. Um, that could turn around and take the upside again, but we closed below it. And decent volume. I mean that's selling. That Tariff candle had big selling volume, biggest of the day, besides the close, which is negated because it is the close. But that sticks out like a sore thumb. I would let's Yeah.
And we'll mark it out on a 3-minute just so we can narrow that range a little bit. But the prices that we're talking about in this highest volume candle on the tariff headline, prices in the S&P 6280, 6290 quarter at the high, 6267 and 3/4 at the low. See the market kind of not be able to trade above 50% of that range. That's one I'm going to leave on my charts until kind of trade it out or get something that can be deemed more important. In the Nasdaq, let's just take a look really quick at that same range. Kind of the little different day to day. The Nasdaq made it a little
Yeah.
tougher to sell. Go ahead, coach.
Yeah, Tesla was down pretty big, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was down 8% at one point today. Uh, not sure where it finished, but it looked pretty bad over there. I know Elon is starting his own political party. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but looking pretty heavy over there. And that's going to lead the Nasdaq lower as well. We know how heavily weighted the Tesla is in the Nasdaq. The range of that tariff candle in the Nasdaq 22,867s at the low, at the
Jeez.
high 22,962, almost a 100-point candle there in 3 minutes. Uh,
Yeah, and it's interesting. Look at the volume next to the to that selling that you just framed out. It was bigger buy volume.
yeah,
It didn't go anywhere. Ah, that's interesting. And then really terrible um close, really a dead close. So see if we get follow through. Um, Tomorrow's another day for day trading, though. So let's see how we start off this evening. But tomorrow's opening, I think, is going to be very important.
I agree. We got a question from just a freaking what? Uh, got a question. We talk about how the Nasdaq was the leader? I'm gonna say that it wasn't the leader. We'll do this real quick, but here's Nasdaq on the top left with the Dow on the top right, which I think was the leader. Uh, Nasdaq top left, Dow top right. We'll go S&P bottom left. and the Russell bottom right. If I look at this chart, these 4 charts, the one on the top right looks like it led us lower. And GDL, you said it, NASDAQ was stubborn, right? If you look at here, let's mark out a second. Look at the first hour of trade in these markets. There's the first hour's range in the NASDAQ. Have first hour's range in the S&P. So the first hour's range in Dow. Maybe we need to go a little bit more than an hour. And the first hour's range in the Russell, which was just trying to find where its friends were.
Russell doesn't have many friends.
But if we look at those ranges, right? First hour range, that's the initial balance for all these markets. Which one of these broke that initial range earliest and decided it was done trading those prices? Right? If we look at the S&P after that first hour range was done, pretty much sell it. Where we see the NASDAQ after that time frame, still kind of chopped around there a little, right? It stayed around those prices for a lot longer than everything else did. I don't think the NASDAQ was the leader today. I think it was kind of holding everything else up, but it didn't do a great job of that either, right? Everything else kind of left. And the NASDAQ had to say, oh, wait, you guys are going that way. Let me go too.
Yeah, and look at that. That first hour it never recovered on any of them.
No.
So once again, I think this tariff talk is really making a mark. Remember April or March and April, that was all on tariffs. So
Yep.
do we do it again? I don't know. But it was interesting. And that first hour, someone dumped some entities, or the market was dumped and it never recovered.
Never did. Never did. Man, looking at this way, the NASDAQ up until 1:30 Eastern time still traded that in that initial balance, right? That's 4 hours where at some point it did trade back inside this range. You look at every other market, that was not the case, right? Where we left it and just kept going. That was a very stubborn market today. So if you got chopped up in the NASDAQ, understand that the market was choppy until it wasn't. We eventually did leave that range, but there were maybe some cleaner markets that traded today. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach Paul?
Well, Courtney, thank you for this. All weekdays, 59% of gaps up are filled and 62% of gaps down are filled. Mondays, 36% of gap ups are filled and 64% of gap downs are filled. Wow. Thank you. So it's a little less than I would thought.
Okay. I guess I misinterpreted what the message was there. It was talking about the fake out in Globex and then in the NASDAQ specifically, fake out in Globex and then set the trend for the day. Got you. All right. I read that wrong. My bad. Context.
Go do 25 push-ups.
Context.
And come on back,
Context.
coach.
All right. Anything else you got on the equities, Coach, before we move on?
That's it for me.
All right. Let's move on to gold. Another two-sided market today. And I think we're going to continue to see this. We talked about this during the opening call. What are we looking at here on the daily in gold, Coach?
Balance, balance, balance. We've been saying this for seems like forever, but it's having trouble getting buying going. Now, look at the 20 and the 50-day moving average.
Flat
They're
lines.
like they're flatlined in a channel.
Yeah.
But to me, I mean, it can happen. It's still in an uptrend, but if this continues and those two start and it starts crossing, we could see a dramatic break. We're not there yet. So buy low, sell high in a market like this, but still a gold just feels heavy. It's lost its sparkle.
It's luster. Let's take a look at last night. Anne Marie and I were doing the opening market kickoff. Posted this on X, but sometimes you call out trades that you don't take and ask yourself why you took them, why you didn't take them. You can't try to chase the money that you didn't make by not taking the trade.
Oh wow.
Urgency, Coach
There's some
Paul.
urgency. Can you say urgency?
Urgency,
Yeah,
and if you don't know
it,
what we mean by urgency, we're looking at the first 30-minute opening range last night, and we had VWAP leave that range pretty urgently. Right? What does urgency look like compared to a market that's not so urgent? Here's the Nasdaq. That same VWAP almost didn't leave the range for the day until we got to the New York session. Right? So gold got selling early, which gave us a pretty nice opportunity to the downside.
oh wow. That's urgency into a J trade.
Yeah. Yep. Right at the lows. And that urgency happened where? To add one more there. That 200 moving average, right there. Click the
To
fucking
start the
button.
week.
Excuse my language. Excuse my
now
language.
you have now you have 50 burpees.
I'll do them. That's fine. That's fine. I actually did do a pretty tough workout today. When I got away from my desk, just because of how the trading day went. Uh,
Good.
yeah, is
You didn't take it out on the market.
no,
That
no.
was
Took it out on myself during my workout. Almost threw up. But it was good. Sometimes you need to push yourself, kind of remind
yeah.
yourself, like, hey, be disciplined. Really nice sell off, and then like you said, Coach, uh, we had the J trade at the lows here. This was 6:30 in the morning Eastern time. I was sleeping at that point, but really nice trade. Shout out to Dakota. Took a long and I think everyone kind of looks at Dakota as a Nasdaq trader. Dakota's a trader. He focuses on the Nasdaq because he made a $500,000 last year trading the Nasdaq. So I think I'd focus there too. But he can pivot as well and took a long in gold where during fast markets where he's normally looking at the Nasdaq, but he saw a better opportunity in gold, and I think he might have held that trade all day. Saw a market that was presenting an opportunity instead of trying to force a market to present an opportunity, and the house account as well took a gold long uh, on the opening range breakout trade and held that trade to the auto liquidator as well. So. Really nice opportunities in gold kind of came right back to where we started and settled for the day. Um, these ranges are big enough to trade, Coach Paul. It's in balance, but 50 points high to low, you can find something there.
Absolutely. Buy low, sell high. That's it's a range trade. Um, Focused on not blowing out, but yeah, it's as we see in both sides of that market, right back to what basically unchanged.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
that's what balanced markets do.
That is what balanced markets do. Let Love Win says, I hear it. I missed my entries and was 3 ticks off a low. Prevented me from seeing we bottomed. No trade today. Didn't trade what I saw. And that's really the key, right? I'm joking about it. We talked through your emotions or whatever. Uh, if there is a trade that you call out and you don't take it, you have to look at that as it's a missed opportunity. And my job is to take the next one. My job is not at that point to try to force the market to give me an opportunity because it may not be as clean. Right now, if I want to refocus, kind of clear my mind, and just say, "Hey, what's the next opportunity that you're going to present to me?" Then we can take advantage of a real trade instead of just trying to make money. But there have been a bunch of times where, as a trader, you look at this trade, you say you could have taken it. I'd be up $2,000 on a one lot, and now I try to figure out how to make $2,000 before the market looks like this. I try to figure it out here. What opportunity is there for me to make $2,000 in this range? There isn't one unless I over leverage and take on way more risks than necessary. right? This was just a really great trade opportunity. Here, it would be trying to force the market to do something that it's not doing at that moment, and then you kind of miss out on this. So, if you miss a trade, understand that your job is to click the button the next time it presents itself, and not to count the money that you didn't make. Anything else you got on gold, Coach Paul?
Um, no, it looks like more of the same.
Hmm.
But I don't predict trade in the moment. Have your plan, but it's offering decent, ranges. So other than that, let's move on to the next.
Platinum is still moving. I just wanted to let
Yeah,
everyone know
let's look
that.
at platinum real quick while we're here.
Here is platinum. Pretty nice trade last night as well. Nice short opportunity. Not as urgent as that gold trade, but still a pretty good market to trade.
Um, yeah, that might have a blow off top. I was looking at it earlier.
Daily,
Yeah, the volume on that buy, the last buy, no, it's not.
not yet. Maybe a close
Oh,
below that.
not yet. Mm, It needs to close below that.
Okay.
Then look at it. Well, we've seen this whether it's on a 3-minute chart, half hour, that 20 moving average is
Hmm.
steep. If we close over under that, I would say that it's a high likelihood we will continue down. But we're not. We haven't, have we?
Not yet. Not yet. Let's take a look at crude oil market that maybe has the potential to break out here. What are we looking at here in crude on a daily, Coach Paul?
We gapped lower last night by a couple dollars. Um, and where did we gap to before you change it? What's that white line? I think we lost your audio.
Oh, you should be able to hear me now. 65.44, 200 moving average. The low of the day today was 65.40.
Okay, good enough for government work. Um, that's where, and then we. Now let's look at the half hour. And there's the line. There was a big gap under the 200 half hour moving average. Think there were buyers there.
Maybe just a couple.
I mean, look at the
Maybe
first
just a
half
couple.
hour candle, and this was, yeah. Now we just was buying lower. All right, VWAP is not trending down. It went sideways for the first couple hours, 4 or 5 hours. Now, reading that, and when we talk about reading volume, think about this. At that point, the biggest volume on the downside, big gap to the 200-day moving average, which it tested once, twice, 3 times. I'm not going to go into that song. Um, but
Your heart feels like singing, just sing. It's all right.
uh,
We're here for it.
um, but think about that. I mean, when you're seeing that, is it's being accumulated. Um, at the 200-day moving average. Also, a gap lower that's not following through. Um, when we got back and made new highs, look at that. Right after that, VWAP left the range. But if you're short and you're looking to short, you can do that. But when you see that, as you get new information, because I can almost feel being short down there.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it gets real slow, and then it goes up a little. Then and now you're getting new information. You're probably feeling it too. But But let's do this one more time, coach, because I love doing. Let's remove the bars and just look at VWAP. A much better picture. If VWAP, if this was a good sell, it wasn't going to continue, VWAP would curve down. It never did. So when we talk about VWAP and volume, look at this. If VWAP is curving or flat. If I'm short, I'm getting nervous because there's no follow through selling. There was price movement down as we went right back to the 200 moving average, but it's not following through. And then it was off to the races. It was a big range. What
Yeah,
was
pretty big day today. And again, I think I said this during the opening call. I don't know how far we're going here, but the more we start to accept price inside of this major sell-off candle, the more I keep looking at 50% of it as a target where we have not traded that price 72 half since we printed this candle. We have a decent acceptance inside that range today of, we're going to need some new buyers, right? They're going to need a reason to buy crude, but that looks pretty bullish up to 75 half. Until, of course, tomorrow it sells right back into the range if crude wants to do that. And I would not be surprised at that either. That is what it likes to do. Andrew in the chat says, funny how the human mind will overcomplicate trading in an effort to avoid pain when in fact simplicity is the key.
wow.
There's always another.
Andrew,
Go ahead,
that
coach.
was awesome. You're not only great in the background for us, that great statement. So true. Keep it simple, stupid, right?
Yeah.
The more complicated, it's almost a reason you're looking for perfection.
Yeah.
And that's a great statement. When we look for perfection, we're not going to, if you're looking for perfection, don't come to futures trading. Some of the best traders lose 80% of the time.
Yep.
So, yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple. We went through the big four. Coach Paul, any other markets that you want to talk about? Anything on your scouting report?
Yeah.
Chat, if you guys do have any questions as well, put them in the chat. Shout out to Andrew, who will always. Actually, here, Classic Dips had a question. Can you explain limit orders and market orders and stop market orders? All right, real quick. Let's two. So limit order. Let me make sure I get this right. I'm going to place a. Let's say I want to buy crude oil, but I want to buy it at 67 half, right? Let's say my entry would be at 67 half. I'm buying it under where the market is, so I'm placing a limit order. Buying it here, 67 half. That's a limit. Let's say I want to buy crude on a breakout, right? Where it's not trading this price yet, but I want to buy it up here. I'm going to place a stop market order above the market. Let's say I put that at 68 half. So when crude oil trades up through 68 half, it's going to trigger my order, but that's a market order. And it's going to say, when that order hits, buy it at market. For a limit order, placing it below where the market is trading, the price comes down and hits that level, and I'll be in the market from there. Anything I missed there, Coach Paul? I tried to go very simple with that explanation.
Yeah. Here, limit. Just think, you're limiting the price.
Yes.
If it's 65.01, it has to trade there at least, most likely trade 65 even for you to buy it. Stop. If you are long, you use a stop to what? To sell. Think about it. Keeping it simple. What I was taught: stop the beating. That's what a stop. You can enter in a stop, but I don't want to confuse this.
Yeah.
Think of a stop as stop the bleeding. Limit. I'm buying it at a limit order. Market is what I'm buying it or selling it wherever the market is. I'm in. By the way, I'm different. I use markets orders probably 80% of the time, especially in a liquid market.
Just let me in.
just I want in. I don't. I had a. We used to call it "give the rat the cheese."
Mm.
I mean, so go back to limit. It's just a limited price. I want it at this price. Stop. Stop the beating. Um, if you're long, if you have a stop, it's a sell stop. If you're short, it's a buy stop. And what's the other one?
Uh, limit orders we're talking about? Stop limits,
We
maybe?
talked limit stop
We can't do
stop
stop
limits.
limits on TopstepX. Not yet, at
Good.
least.
Don't.
Good. Yeah, don't. Yeah, it's guaranteeing
Don't.
you a price, but not a fill, right?
If you, yeah. Um, don't. Yeah, I can't say that. I highly recommend not using them. I won't say don't. That would be irresponsible. But here's the problem with a stop limit. In a market that's ripping, as we can see overnight, that I only want I only want 5 ticks slippage. Okay, look at that crude oil candle from hell if you're long. Okay, that day, if you had a stop and you said, "Well, I only want 5 ticks," all right,
You're still
the
waiting for
market
your fill.
yeah, that's it. They can be very dangerous. When I was a floor broker, there's certain floor brokers that wouldn't take those orders. Here, I'll give it to someone else because they know you're gonna. There's a good chance you're gonna come back at me to adjust it if I can't get it filled right. Um, if you want out, get out. No, just start it and a stop. You're doing it, but you can get caught thinking that I'm going to get out, and you didn't, and it's usually on some huge move, like penny wise, dollar foolish.
Right.
That's exactly what that is. So I would my suggestion is don't touch those.
Yep. Get out. Accept that you're wrong. Might cost you a little bit more, but at least you can get out of the trade. Any other markets we want to talk about, Coach Paul? Soybeans had a
Um,
really nice sell off today.
yeah, soybeans. Let's look at soybeans. Very good. Someone has said Bitcoin.
Soybeans started last night.
And now there's a gap that didn't get filled.
Right.
And that's why, but why? Well, let's see the action. Look at that volume. Okay, I'm glad someone said that. Maybe because I was long puts on my position. But we gap lower. Now, here's the thing with this is in grains, they're crop years. For those of you who have been on farms, they used to say knee high by the 4th of July. So corn, if it was knee high, it was going to be a good crop. Now it's like shoulder high. But by July 4th, the crop is in, and you're going to know by the 4th of July if it looks good or not. There's talk that there's right now, if it doesn't rain, there's been decent amount of rain. Then there's frost. In my 40 years, I think 1 year it was affected by frost, and it wasn't even that big. But now the crop is in, it's usually there's not much that's going to hurt it. And this is a classic. Maybe Coach Hoop will talk about it. He looks at the seasonals. Getting short soybeans in July is a big thing because the crop is in, it's good. Well, if there was a problem, it'd be going the other way. So we come in for after 4th of July, the huge volume, and that was a night session.
Yep.
Well, what was the volume? Wow. That was so commercials, funds, everybody. And we never recover. Then we break out and look at, and we talk about a shape of VWAP. We
Open
couldn't
lower the
even,
entire day.
Yeah, it
Coming
was
to the New York session open, and it's more of the same. Nice trade here. Nice trending market. Also for all of our ag traders, the WASD report, basically CPI of with the volatility, CPI of the grains is on Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. It will bring us some volatility. I probably would not want to be holding a trade into that number,
yeah.
but could do something after.
So next thing, let's look at the daily. And when this market has been accelerating to the downside.
Looks a lot like natural gas did a couple days ago.
Yeah. Now interestingly, we closed. Now, what month is this? The November beans? Yeah, we can't
What's
see the
X?
August
X.
beans. It's a
Whatever
little
X is.
different. November.
All right.
Spoken like a true financial.
What's X?
What's X? November beans. And that symbol in the trading pit was obviously no, point to your nose, for November. But that's the new crop. That's the beans that are in the field. I'm positioned in the August. It's a little different. The August is the remaining of last year's crop. So the chart looks a little different, but even with November beans, look at 200-day moving average after the 4th of July. It was very heavy. It looks like it could go to contract lows. That was not, that was brutal selling. I'm just literally kind of stunned
Yeah.
at the size of the volume on a Sunday night.
Yeah, it was huge.
Tariffs probably have a little bit to do with it too, because basically the U.S. has lost the Brazilian market. I mean, the Chinese market to the Brazilians in this trade war. China is probably the biggest buyer of soybeans in the world. They used to be our biggest soybean customer. I don't think that we do any business with them now.
Oh wow.
Very
That's lower.
stressful times for our farmer friends. This is brutal. The only one and corn. Let's look at corn. That was down massive.
Biggest percentage mover on the day to the downside. Been in a downtrend.
Yep.
Wow. Been in a
And look
pretty
at how it
strong
goes.
trend. Talk about contract lows. We're pretty close to it.
Yeah. And it's still, the crop is relatively safe right now. I don't know what's can turn this around, but man, I do feel for our farmers. This is brutal action. And it doesn't look, it doesn't look good. I think it's going to turn around anytime soon.
Yeah. Similar story here. Gap down. Pretty huge volume on that opening print last night, and couldn't recover more than 50% of that range through the rest of the day. So pretty big movement. There was still some range to trade. Corn ended down about 3.6%. There was a 1.5% sell off in the middle of the New York session. So it wasn't all that gap. Don't know how many traders we have trading corn, but soybeans is a the NASDAQ of the grains. Pretty good.
Yeah, it is. When it's good, it's the best.
Yeah.
When it's chopping, it is ruthless. But yeah, that does big action. 4th of July. That market can put a fork in it. There's nothing that really, sadly, I've worked for many decades with a lot of farmers that they rely on this. But they can be hedged too. But this is pretty heavy action. We're making contract lows in July. And that's I
Shouldn't
don't
be happening.
that shouldn't be happening. Yeah, so that's the grain. Someone want to look at Bitcoin.
Take a look at
Bit
Bitcoin. Let's answer this question. Let's do
Sure.
Bitcoin first. Let's do Bitcoin first. Go to the question afterwards. Bitcoin on a daily.
Playing with that 20-day moving average. God, does that look a lot like gold to you?
We haven't made an all-time high in
Yeah.
a bunch of days. Yeah, it looks very similar.
I mean, it's not the exact, but it looks very similar, going
Yep.
sideways. Not
Moving
There
averages
was some
flattening out.
news about a old um
Crypto
big
wallet.
crypto wallet that moved $8.6 billion. Was that like an early like he might have bought or he or she I don't bought it in the dimes, like dimes. Um, it was some pretty big news. I don't get that deep into it, but that would be concerning. And it seems concerning that that wallet was moving money. Um, I could put my tin hat back on and go, I think I know who that's an entity. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Satoshi, he or she hasn't called me or texted me. But this action and one that's sideways. It's been tough. Here's another one. The 20-day and the 50-day are getting really close. So the day of destiny is coming in the next couple weeks. Um, if that crosses, I think we go right back to the 200. But it's
95,000.
which sounds cheap.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, I would love to buy a little bit at 95,000.
So this has been the case with Bitcoin all the time. I think we need to get a good, healthy break to get a good rally again.
Yeah.
But let's look at the half hour real quick. Yeah,
Under that 200 moving average on the half an hour. Nice sell last night.
gap up.
Gapped up. Pretty big gap up too.
Yeah, right back under the 200. Now, hmm, boy, that's not healthy looking. That gap was filled, and we really didn't bounce. Did we?
Nope.
We didn't bounce. Period. We're still in that range. We're under the 200 to 20 days, getting under. Let's see the 50 covers. Um, Still in a range, but feeling heavy. And if someone removed $8.6 billion, I'd be concerned.
They probably
But
bought Bitcoin at for like 15 bucks.
no, I think it was like in the dimes.
I'm saying they spent $15
Oh,
on Bitcoin.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a little different. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's see. This is new. I did own some for. I'm not even going to tell you. It was a great return. I want it back.
Want it
But
all back. It all back.
one thing, there was a big problem with Bitcoin. There was a big problem with with a, an entity called Mount Gox.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. After that, I was soured because it was still relatively new, and you could have your wallet stolen. I'm like, uh, but I love the volatility. Don't get me wrong. I like the idea of Bitcoin. I just like trading the futures. It gives some range, gives opportunity, and I don't have to worry about my computer being thrown into a garbage dump with $10 billion worth of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
All right. What's the question we want to?
Let's get to this question. Berlin 2015 bar convo with a weird dude offered to buy 1K Bitcoin off him for 1,000 euro. Did not do it. Yeah, there's so many stories like that, man. Like I've said it on here. First time I heard about Bitcoin was at a pool party in Miami, and this is a true story. The guy offered me Bitcoin and drugs, and I didn't buy either one of them. One of those would have been a great investment. Uh, Hey, sometimes you just don't buy it. It was how it was packaged. It was just like, could I just have one of those and not the others? It is what it is. All right. Sainin asked the question. I've been struggling. I've been trading futures for a month, and I have been struggling passing my combine. Do you have any advice to help me pass? So I asked a couple of follow up questions, like I do with questions like these, because you know just that alone, we need some more information. So Sainin has been trading in general for 7 months, trading a 50K account, Coach Paul, trading NASDAQ and gold, and position size is normally 1 to 3 minis on a 50K account. I asked how many days before resetting an account. It's usually 2 to 3 days and just reset today. What do we recommend?
Go to one mini. I'm up. Wait till you three minis or micros?
Minis, 1 to 3 minis
You're
o-
over
on a
leveraged.
50K
And I
account.
don't. I don't. Sometimes you have to be stern.
Hmm.
You're over leveraged
100%.
because it's the 50K combine is $2,000 balance.
Yep.
So even if you're trading, what is the average true range on a 1 minute? You,
On the Nasdaq, average true range on a 1 minute. And again, we don't have, saying we don't have your strategy and all that stuff. But yeah, it doesn't matter what your strategy is. You're complete, like Coach Paul, you said, completely over leveraged. 1 minute ATR in the Nasdaq during the choppy session today was 14 points, $240,
$240.
10% of your account in 1 minute.
Yeah. So you can't with that. I'm not here to beat you up. This is what you have to learn.
Yep.
You can't afford to be wrong. And any time in your life, if you can't afford to be wrong, you can't afford to be there.
Yep.
So go to 3 micros. See, I bet there's terror going through some moves when you're doing it because it all looks good when you're up.
Yeah.
But even if you're running at a program, even at 80%, and you don't have, you don't know when in that cycle it's going to have a streak of losers. And if you're over leveraged, then you can't get to the other side. So uh, pare down, go to micros. At the most, 1 mini, and I wouldn't even do that because I don't, without knowing your strategy.
Yep.
And then how are you going to find out if your strategy is good? When you're over leveraged, what happens is there's some wild move or you make a mistake, and all of a sudden you're out $500-600 or more at minimum. So you the bottom line is you're over leveraged. And I pass it to you, Coach Jay.
Um, with the risk management stuff, I'm not going to comment any more on that. Like Coach Paul just said, you're over leveraged. Um, I want to comment more on the you've been trading for 7 months and you're struggling to pass a combine. Uh, Quote that my trading mentor used to use, and he used to ask us this question: Are you in a learning phase or an earning phase? If you were a doctor and you started med school 7 months ago, uh, and you tried to do surgery, you probably kill your patient. Right. So same thing here. You still have a lot to learn. Now, does it take as long as it takes a doctor in med school to get to that point where you can start seeing some success? Definitely not. But you're probably still very much in a learning phase, and you're learning under extreme pressure, right? Where you're learning how to do a surgery while doing a surgery, right? Instead of being able to read the textbook, maybe practice on a cadaver first or whatever it is, you're so over leveraged that you have to get it right, right? You're doing heart surgery and on a live patient and you don't know how to do heart surgery yet. You're going to kill your patient and you're blowing your accounts in 2 to 3 days because of that. So uh zoom out a little bit, give yourself a little bit more time to if you just started trading now, I don't know how long you plan on doing this, but you have a long road ahead of you to be able to make the money that you want to make from doing this, but you have to learn how the game works first. And you have to be able to build a buffer to trade the size that you want to trade. Uh, and I don't think anyone is exempt from that. When I over leverage now, based on my account, there are emotions and things that come with it, regardless of what that account balance is. Right. I trade in a personal account where I could trade a decent amount of size. If I over leverage, I feel it. Right. So trade a contract size that you're comfortable with, that your account can facilitate, and just be honest about where you sit right now in your trading journey. And again, if you do that, you could probably speed up the learning curve a lot faster. Right? Do what Coach Paul just said, and pump the brakes a little bit. You're actually going to speed up your learning curve because then you're just trading the market. When you can repeatedly do the same thing over and over again, your job at that point, if you want to pay yourself more, is to assess whether or not your account can facilitate that, and then add another contract. But be honest about where you sit right now in your trading journey. Uh, and M just said it. MS just said it. We're not saying this to criticize. This is literally like Coach Paul said. Sometimes you have to be stern, right? I was in a Discord or chat group a long time ago when I first started trading, and I literally had somebody curse me out because he was just like, "Hey, you're good at what you do, but who the f do you think you are? Um, Trading that type of size, you haven't earned that yet." So, and that's okay. The quicker you accept that, the quicker you can get to, hey, I need to trade what is meant for myself and meant for my account. Uh, Last suggestion: filter. Right? Don't I don't know where you are as far as developing a strategy. Find something that you have confidence in. Some confidence, and confidence doesn't mean that it's going to work 100% of the time, but you have enough confidence to put on risk, and then filter everything else out. Right? You don't need to be watching 600 YouTube videos in a weekend. This is why you're not a profitable trader. You don't need to be watching all that shit. You need to figure out what gets you to click the button at the end of the day, what you feel comfortable putting risk behind, review it, and go from there. Uh,
Great, great advice, Coach.
Thanks, you too, coach. Pretty good at this.
But by the way, I just want to encourage. This is the journey.
Yeah.
Almost everyone in the audience or who's ever traded goes through this because that's when you realize you're a risk manager.
Yep.
At most point when we start, we're a risk taker. I was young and dumb, man. I had no problem. Um, I just when I was right, I was really right. Problem was, I never accepted being wrong.
Yeah.
Now, plus I had no clue as position sizing. So one of the risk management is at its core position sizing. So
Yep.
learn the lesson. You're oversized, and that's where the struggle comes. You can get much more consistent when your position size equals the um, is in harmony with the size of your account.
And keep coming back. Kind of let us know how that goes, right? You know, Shout out to you for even putting it out there and asking the question. Because that's the first part of it, right? You don't know the answers to things if you don't ask the questions. So let us know how that progress goes, right? Understand that if you do start trading micros, you're gonna see, lower P&L swings than you're accustomed to, but that's okay. Right. Keep us updated. If you have any questions, don't change anything about your strategy right now. Change the size and see if you get different results. But coach, you got anything before we go?
No, it was the perfect way to end it.
I think so.
Go back to let's get at it again. Good luck, good trading. Remember, focus on risk management. That's
Focus
it.
on your risk management. We got Coach Hoop doing a class in Discord coming up in about 10 minutes. Then Coach Ray and Coach Vince, 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Dakota for slow markets, 7:30. I'll be joining him today. And we have Aaron with the London Open, 1:30 a.m. Central Time. D with the Euro Trade, 3:30 a.m. Central Time. And then we will be back for the Top Step TV Day Show tomorrow morning, 7:20 Central. Hopefully helping you become a better trader in your journey. And if we are, even if we're not, hit the thumbs up button. Doesn't cost you anything. We appreciate you all for joining. Andrew, thanks as always for helping us run this session, and we will talk to you all tomorrow.
All right. Bye.